Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome myself back. It's been a harrowing week of migraines. I usually don't get migraines very often, but this one was just like multiple days. So I'm finally feeling better today. So I thought, okay, I'll come on. And today is beautiful day 19 of 21. We have extended. I'm glad I didn't say 21 consecutive days. Perhaps that's a good lesson learned, not to say consecutive days, but hopefully, intuition is a muscle, and the more you use it, the better you are at it. So this is still my first challenge, and so by becoming better at it, then the next one I do, or whatever I choose to do next, will come more easily, I hope. And I don't know about you, but in where I live, which is southwestern Ontario in Canada, it's been so gray. The month of January and the month of February, it's just like, where is the sun? And I thought I'll look on the weather channel to see when is the next day where we're going to have sun. And it's not this coming week, it's the following week where we may have some sun. So I hope that we can all imagine that we are basking in beautiful sunshine and warmth and just feeling the embrace of our lives. Today, the theme that I wanted to, or the word that came up as I was typing, what are we doing today, is belonging. And if you stop to think about what belonging is, it is really hard to define in a way because it can be so vast yet so precise at the same time. And I wrote down that it was a beautiful idea that comes easily for some, right? Some people just find their space, their spot, their group very quickly and easily, and they remain happily in that group within that frame, if you want, of belonging. And for others, it is certainly a lifelong pursuit. And so I'm thinking back to, where did I really feel that I belonged? And for me, it was more of a pursuit in a way, because I've always felt quite different, as many intuitives do feel. And so we're kind of looking for like-minded people, thinking that we'll find somebody who's very similar to us. And sometimes that happens and we're going, yeah, no, I don't quite fit there. Or sometimes you fit in so nicely in a group of people that are so different from you. And you don't really question that because you kind of fit in and it feels good. And sometimes we just fit in a group for a while, and then it becomes like we've changed, we've healed, we have made decisions for ourselves, and therefore we don't necessarily belong to that group anymore. I just saw that my computer was really crooked. Anyway, so maybe we don't belong in that group that had felt more like home for a while. And then we are in search of another group. And I think with age, perhaps it is a bit more difficult to find groups. I've always felt that I was on, the cusp of a certain age group, a certain definition of who I was, or really felt in the younger part of who I was. And it was really hard to find a space where I really felt like I belonged. And I found that I belong when I'm channeling spirit, So I'm supported and surrounded by spirit, but that's not the human form, truly, in a way where I have to do my everyday life. I belong with like minded, beautiful friends. And there are friends where it's easy to chat and discuss. And, they give me their opinion and I give them mine. And it's a very supportive and accepting environment. And these are not big groups that I belong to. Um, and that's okay. Some people are super social and belong in big, big groups and they thrive in that. Unless I'm teaching, then I tend to have smaller groups. But I found it really interesting. This weekend, I did my presentation on embracing, getting to know and learn about spirit guides. And I did a meditation where the participant who were attending my workshop I guided them in the meditation and for them to go and meet one or multiple spirit guides. And it was magical and it worked really, really well. And at the end of that 2 hour workshop, I just felt like, oh, yeah, I did belong. So I think that sometimes we look at belonging with people, which obviously we're human. We want to have friends and family supporting us. But I think that we can also belong in a position, in a job, if you want, or we belong in a certain function. And I know that as a teacher, when I was thinking, okay, what do I want to do when what do I want to study? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do when I was younger? And I worked at the pool. I was a lifeguard and I coached synchronized swimming and I loved doing that. And I loved being, somebody who taught swimming. And I thought, okay, I'm good at teaching. I can teach swimming, so I'm sure I can transfer skills to teaching children in a classroom setting. And I think, over the course of my career, I certainly grew as a teacher and grew in understanding of children and that, we are not ourselves made from cookie cutter, right? So the children that we teach are not either. And so I certainly learned to look at each child and what their needs were, and how I could best support support them and support their growth. And then when I started my business, I started to expand into teaching about intuition, teaching about um, oracle cards, and I love doing that, and it just feels so right for me to do that. And so I want to continue on that journey of teaching intuitive skills. And so I'm going to come up with a program to teach about spirit guides, and I think that'll be so much fun. Because a spirit guide can be pretty much anything and everything. And it's just for you to take whatever comes through at face value, because whatever is shown to you is exactly what is needed for you. And so I think that when we find our space where we belong, the place where we belong, or I would even say the places where we belong, the community and everything, then these are certainly defining moments in our lives. And so today I invite you to go back and see where you really felt like you belonged. I know when I go camping and, we're at the fire pit or we're on the beach, I feel I belong. I belong in that nature. When I'm teaching, I belong in that. That's where I still supply teach, because I miss the kids. They make me laugh. And so teaching is part of who I am. Teaching is a skill that I have, and it's a skill that I have developed over time for sure. I've worked at it. I did have some natural abilities, but I did work at it to improve my skills as a teacher and my delivery and my communication skills as well. And so I invite you today to just really kind of ponder, where in your life did you feel that you belonged? And what were you doing? Who were you with? And how do you feel that where you belong now? What are things that you do which come easily to you, that you have refined over the years, that make you happy when you do, when you do them? And so belonging, it's a big pondering word for sure. It has a beautiful frequency to it. And it feels that when we belong into something, somewhere, it kind of just magically click. And we're looking for that magical clicking. And so I'll ponder some more as to where I felt that I belonged. So the deck of cards that I have today is the Wisdom of Avalon Oracle card. And it is an older deck, which I just purchased maybe a year ago or something. So let's tap in. I do love the mystical. I do love things that cannot be explained easily, and things that need imagination and the trust that you have the wisdom to open up to these elements and see where you land with it. All right. So let's see this one. So that card again. Okay. Same, different deck, similar idea. You'll see. So the first card is the Hawk, Omens and Messages. The Hawk, Omens and Messages. And I have on my back patio, I have like many different bird feeders. And I was looking at the birds and all that. And all of a sudden the birds, I kind of looked back. Then I looked again. And this hawk, I don't know if it's a Cooper's hawk or a Merlin's hawk, like a very small hawk, just basically almost flew into my patio. And I went like, oh, okay. So by, it was hunting smaller birds, but they all dispersed and none of them died at my bird feeder, which I was really grateful for. But the hawk, when you see, sometimes as well, I was driving in the countryside and I had a hawk kind of not drive. The hawk was not driving, flying, kind of like not next to the car, obviously, but kind of flying for a little bit, long enough for me to go, okay, what's going on? So hawks are bringer of messages and omens. And when there is a bird that comes into your periphery, or that comes into your awareness so that you see, just ask, what are you showing me? And then wait and see what the answer is. And by allowing time, right? Sometimes we're impatient. What's the message? What's the message? Like, no, allow time to occur and see if you feel, hear, sense something, or if it brings clarity to an issue that you are having. And so the first card is the hawk. The second card, we're working on this, I think, in this 21-day challenge, is forgiveness. And we talked about this because sometimes we don't belong somewhere because we need to forgive others. and we have moved out of that group. Or sometimes we need to either be forgiven for something we've done or to forgive what has been done, said, etc. Implied, even. We're very good as human beings to imply things that, yes, often it's like, no, they didn't say it. So, no, possibly they didn't mean that. And so the forgiveness, it's kind of like, where do you need to address forgiveness in your life at this time? And so that is my message. These are my messages. These are my cards for today. The hawk, omens and messages, and forgiveness. And so I wish you a beautiful evening. Tomorrow is tomorrow, today's 19th. So tomorrow's day 20. We're going to do a meditation, and I am very much looking forward to that. So have a good evening, everybody, and thank you for following along.